Assalamu alaikum. Welcome back to another episode of WanderVision podcast. I am Sunny Nasir, and we are back with another guest today. We have Mr. Bilal Anwar Saab, who is the Chief Executive Officer of National Disaster Risk Management Fund. He is a sustainable development passionate, visionary climate leader, and a global advocate for sustainability and climate resilience. Bilal Saab ka 20 years ka work experience hai, and he's worked in all over the world in different countries, including the UK, Mauritius, Germany, the USA, and now Pakistan. Assalamu alaikum. Thank you for being on the show and welcome to the Wonder Vision podcast.
It's a pleasure.
क्या हाल है बिलाल साहब आपके?
मैं जी बिल्कुल ठीक ठाक हूँ. आप सुनाएं?
Alhamdulillah. अच्छा बिलाल साहब, I know you personally as well, but मैं professionally as in outside of this podcast as well. And I know कि आपका एक बहुत एक vibrant career रहा हुआ है, and you've worked all over the world basically. So what has your journey up until now has been like, and what inspired you to become the CEO of National Disaster Risk Management Fund?
I think the CEO of National Disaster Risk Management Fund is just a title, but I still consider myself and call myself a climate policy practitioner. So, which is very relevant these days. But ये मेरा जर्नी जो था वो climate change में it started from 1999 in Bonn, Germany. So by training I'm an economist. I did my studies in classical economics, and then I landed into by accident to the climate change program. और उसके बाद अभी तक वहाँ से बाहर निकलने का दरवाज़ा नहीं मिल सका. And that same journey has basically took me to all over the world, such a wonderful places, and I have seen the impacts of the climate change and the destructions because of the climate change, and how it has actually adversely destroyed the communities, the livelihoods, the infrastructures, and in many places in Africa, in the Caribbean, in many other parts of the world. So that actually brought me after a long journey of over 20 years, brought to my own country in Pakistan. So this was an opportunity to lead on this fund. So for the last 3.5 years, I'm just trying to take it further.
So it was a happy accident that you got into climate.
It was an accident. I mean, 1999 में कौन climate change में जाना चाह रहा होगा? ठीक है. The world was very different back then. तो बल्कि जब मैं climate change में आ गया, and then we were having kind of a little bit of a reunions with our university friends in Europe. तो जब कभी भी मिलते थे तो कोई बैंकिंग में था तो हम इकोनॉमिक्स वाले ज़्यादा था नहीं, या हम कंसल्टिंग में चले जाते थे, बैंकिंग में चले जाते थे. एंड मोस्ट ऑफ माई फ्रेंड्स एक्चुअली वेंट टू दोज एरियाज. एंड वो जब भी मिलते थे तो वो कहते थे अच्छा तुम क्या कर रहे हो, तो फिर जब मैं बताने की कोशिश करता तो कहते थे व्हाई डोंट यू गेट योरसेल्फ अ रियल जॉब. So and look at that. I mean, 25 years down the road, I mean, that might be the only job which is the real job right now.
Does not get more real than this.
Yeah. So in many ways, I think it was a destiny. It was kind of a God's plan for me to be here.
Right. So you've mentioned कि आपने London से graduation भी की, and then you've worked in Germany as the team lead at the UNFCCC Secretariat. You've worked in Mauritius and the US. So how have these experiences shaped your decision making in Pakistan? And obviously there must be vast differences between the cultures, people, the kind of work that is done. So project implementation how has that influenced your decision making here?
Yes, I mean there are differences, and interestingly there are similarities as well. I must say that. And when you are dealing with the kind of a socio-economic kind of a challenges and the problems of dealing with the people, so there are many similarities जो के cut across कर रही होती हैं, whether you're working with a group of people in Africa, or island peoples in Mauritius or some other island, and in Pakistan as well. But nevertheless, are the differences or the similarities? There's a value for the uniqueness which is there, which of course shapes every human being, every person to shape up and to develop his or her own perspective. So it has certainly helped me a lot as well, and the journey hasn't stopped yet. So anyway, I think the one thing from a purely kind of project perspective. I think the one thing is, which I've seen in most of the Western world, जहाँ पे मुझे काम करने का मौका मिला, they are ruthlessly kind of a result oriented. Every project, every assignment, every activity, it has a start date, it has a finish date, it has the milestone very tightly built into it. There's a certain level of flexibility जो कि होती है कि आप आप recalibrate करते हो, redesign करते हो, लेकिन the end goal remains most of the time actually same, and we try and everyone tries to reach there. I think result orientation जो है वो is a big characteristic which I've seen in many other places, which is yet to be kind of incorporated in some of the other places like here as well. So I think sometimes being kind of strictly result oriented, उसके अपने disadvantages भी हैं, because when you're looking at us on a smaller perspective, on a narrow perspective, you miss the bigger picture as well. So as far as one is vigilant enough, have that kind of a vision, तो उसमें गुंजाइश तो हमेशा रहती है उसको रीडिज़ाइन रिकैलिब्रेट करने की, लेकिन आई थिंक एवरी प्रोजेक्ट must reach to its final goal, its final objective, and that's extremely important. Learnings होती रहती हैं, आई थिंक उसको ट्रांसमिट करना चाहिए, ट्रांजिशन करना चाहिए दूसरे एरियाज में, but the finishing line is very important.
Very well said. I think especially in the development sector, जो बदलते हालात के मुताबिक अपने आप को flexible रखना and project को उसके accordingly करना is very important. And I think one big example would be when the COVID crisis hit. तो जो भी projects थे overall development sector में, they were tailored according to the current situation. And then we talk about disaster as well. When we talk about NDRMF, जो मैंने खुद भी ऑब्जर्व किया है, एंड जनरली आई थिंक अब तक सबको पता चल गया होगा कि व्हेनेवर वी टॉक अबाउट नेशनल डिजास्टर रिस्क मैनेजमेंट फंड, वी ऑलवेज टॉक अबाउट नेशनल कैटास्ट्रोफी एज वेल. सो NatCat के बारे में आप क्या बोलना चाहेंगे? एंड आई पर्सनली बिलीव दैट इट्स वेरी इंपॉर्टेंट बिकॉज पाकिस्तान में अनदर बिग हर्डल और ऑब्स्टिकल इज द शॉर्ट साइटेडनेस in our planning and execution of those plans as well. 4 साल 5 साल के प्लान्स बनते हैं या उससे भी 1 साल के प्लान्स बनते हैं और उसके ऊपर फोकस किया जाता है. जो लॉन्ग टर्म है, अगले लेट्स से कि 22 ईयर्स, अभी इंडिपेंडेंस डे गुजरा है, तो या उससे भी 25 ईयर्स का हमारी प्लानिंग थोड़ी सी कमज़ोर है जनरली नेशनल लेवल पे. सो आई बिलीव दैट NatCat is countering that in terms of risk assessment. So what would you want to say about that?
Very good point, Sania. We are here today sitting, and Swat, Bunair, Karachi just happened a couple of days ago, 4 or 5 days ago. And we have seen the live pictures of the destructions which happened. The number of people have lost their lives, and the damages these disasters have actually done in those places. To me, being a disaster management and climate adaptation person, at this age of technology, this should not have had happened, but there is a counter argument which of course is going to be there. The climate change is evolving, unpredictability, erraticness is hard to quantify, is hard to assess. Yes, I completely agree. I have professionally grew up in a climate science and in the climate modeling world, and I completely agree with that. That basically demands us a lot more kind of a preemptive preparedness. I think that's where we have actually, we might have actually failed, and some of the results and the impacts which you're seeing actually, they're not because we haven't been able to predict or we haven't been able to preempt the impacts of the climate changes, because of we haven't been able to appropriately or suitably prepare ourselves now. And that's where the NatCat or these kind of technologies or these kind of applications become extremely important. I just want to take this kind of an opportunity, and I always grab this opportunity whenever I get the chance. I think हमें एक distinction or एक understanding develop करनी है between the predictability and the forecasting and the risk assessment. Most of the time ये distinction क्लियर नहीं होती एंड जिसकी वजह से जो आपने वीक प्लानिंग की जो बात की, आई थिंक दैट्स अ डायरेक्ट एक्चुअली रिजल्ट ऑफ दिस मिसअंडरस्टैंडिंग. Forecasting is extremely important, no one can actually deny about this. जिस किस्म के एक्सट्रीम वेदर कंडीशंस हम देख रहे हैं और जो वेरिएशन हम देख रहे हैं इन अ मैटर ऑफ अबाउट 15 डेज हम क्लाउड बर्स्ट देख रहे हैं, वो चकवाल से लेके बनेर, स्वात और कराची तक हमें नज़र आ रहा है. दिस इज़ द वेरिएशन, दिस इज़ जियोग्राफिकल स्प्रेड विच वी आर सीइंग इट. सो फोरकास्टिंग एक्सट्रीमली हमें अर्ली वार्निंग सिस्टम, हमें फोरकास्टिंग स्टेशन, हमें उसके लिए जिस किस्म की भी असेसमेंट्स चाहिए, कंप्यूटेशनल कैपेसिटी चाहिए, वो सारे के सारे लगाने की ज़रूरत है. नाउ व्हेन वी टॉक अबाउट द प्लानिंग, the forecasting actually takes a back seat. Then the risk assessment becomes the primary kind of an equation which need to be integrated into it. Forecasting, after 30 days, the forecast have no value. Whereas for the risk assessment, you can actually undertake the risk assessment for 200 years in advance. When we're talking about the planning, we're talking about infrastructure development, we're talking about the systems of the network or the health facilities or the education facility, anything which is related to social development, economic development. I think the vision should be at least 100 years to 200 years.
Wow.
And that's where the risk assessment comes into the picture. So NetCat is entirely and strictly is based and designed to undertake the risk assessments for a number of different disasters and the perils and across the number of regions within Pakistan, and then for the different economic and the social sectors in Pakistan as well. So NDRMF have actually established this system, and we established in a kind of with a kind of a limited vision. We thought that purely from a financial perspective, there's a lot of burden, fiscal burden on the government whenever any kind of a disaster happens, and we actually wanted to introduce this risk transfer instruments, for example insurance and other risk transfer instruments. And we thought that okay, with this kind of application, this is going to be filling that knowledge gap, and the insurance industry is going to be able to come up with a lot more informed risk premium assessment and the quantification. But once we developed the system, we combined the data, we built the core relationships, and we looked into this holistic of the data system, and we realized that it has pretty kind of a bottomless, endless kind of applications. And suddenly we started realizing the importance of it for the spatial planning, for infrastructure development, for forestry, for agriculture, for education facilities and the health facilities, a number of other areas as well. So NetCat is probabilistic based risk modeling application. It is not related to the forecasting. So in that way, actually, which distinguishes us from the number of other agencies, a number of other players who are actually doing a pretty wonderful job in terms of the forecasting, prediction, and anything which is associated with that. And then it actually complements their job as well. And they actually come up with the assessment or the forecasting assessment, which is for 30 days, 45 days, 60 days, or maybe 3 months or 6 months down the road. But then when we combine this with the risk assessment, that's when we start getting the more holistic picture. And this is something which we should be utilizing for our planning purposes. So the planning has become a lot more scientific, and this is something which we have to take on.
Very well said and very well explained as well. When you talk about risk assessment and you talk about the marriage between policy and science as well, when we talk about the tourism industry in Pakistan, the future of tourism industry, so how can tools like insurance and NatCat as well, how can they play a role in enhancing and improving the tourism industry of Pakistan in the next, let's say, 100 years? अगर हम aim करेंगे over next, जैसे कि अगर PTTC है, उसका एक agenda है Salam Pakistan, to enhance the soft power of our country and to invite tourists to our country. So why just focus on one summer or the next summer? Let's aim for the next 100 years. So usme, how can these tools help in protecting us from the climatic vulnerabilities as well, and generally हमारे tourism industry को enhance करने के लिए?
Yeah, so the one thing is, I mean, एक तो ये है कि it's not only for the 100 years, you know, for the 100 years it is absolutely necessary and essential कि अब जैसे हम इंश्योरेंस इंडस्ट्री को इवॉल्व करना चाह रहे हैं, जैसे डेवलप करना चाह रहे हैं, बिकॉज इंश्योरेंस इंडस्ट्री इज ऑल अबाउट वी हैव some of the most attractive insurance hotspots in the world, and which we haven't really brought into the limelight. We haven't been able to market and package them the way other countries have been able to do so. So I think infrastructure, accessibility, suitability, hospitality, and number of other things which are extremely, extremely important. So one thing is, yes, I think the 100-year vision is extremely important, and anything which we are going to, whether we are actually establishing the hospitality hotels or in Swat or up in Skardu or other places, I think they all should be risk informed. They all should be designed after having this 100-year risk assessment and the profiling. And that is going to be demanding some of the design changes, architectural changes, engineering changes into those infrastructures and those developments. I think this is something which needed to be incorporated. Okay. 100 years is sometimes off-putting to many people, क्योंकि इतना लंबा कोई सोच नहीं पाता, ठीक है. हालांकि पाकिस्तान में हालांकि सोचना चाहिए, लेकिन यह है कि अगर हम इसको एक ऑन अ स्मॉलर टाइम स्केल के ऊपर भी इस किस्म की एप्लीकेशन की अगर हम यूजफुलनेस को देखना चाहते हैं, आई थिंक स्टिल देयर इज़ अ lot of room for that as well, which is basically is related to the especially those places which have this higher ecosystem, natural, scenic, and biodiversity value as well. And our system has that kind of information as well. And through the satellite imagery and satellite data, we are actually able to, and we are doing some of the work that the vegetation level, the forestry, and the biodiversity coverage is going up or down. And we can directly see that with the influx or the increasing tourism and the people actually going to certain regions, what kind of impact is having on the local ecosystem, which is our natural capital. उसको प्रिजर्व करना बहुत ज़रूरी है, इसलिए भी ज़रूरी है कि 100 साल 200 साल तक ये लोग आते रहें और ये इलाका इस काबिल रहे कि और इसकी नेचुरल ब्यूटी और जो सीनिक ब्यूटी है वो प्रिजर्व हो सके. So the system can actually undertake these kind of assessments on a regular basis, on a much shorter time intervals. We have done this exercise for Galiyat, and we have actually shown in the last 20 years जब के वहाँ पे टूरिज़म का एक इन्फ्लक्स ज़्यादा हो रहा है, एक्सेसिबिलिटी इम्प्रूव हो गई है बिकॉज ऑफ द रोड नेटवर्क्स एंड some of the facilities which has been erected there, not entirely based on a sustainable tourism principles, but still people are actually looking for to go somewhere. And we have done the assessments for that particular region, because to us that region is climatically is very fragile. वो बहुत नाजुक सा रीजन है, उसके पहाड़ भी बड़े नाजुक से हैं, उसकी वेजिटेशन भी बड़ी नाजुक है, और इसी तरह से वहाँ पे वाटर के रिसोर्सेज जो हैं और जो बाकी जो नेचुरल कैपिटल है, दैट इज़ एक्सट्रीमली सेंसिटिव. सो वी हैव डन दोज काइंड ऑफ एक्सरसाइजेज एंड असेसमेंट, एंड वी हैव ब्रॉट दोज असेसमेंट्स टू द अटेंशन ऑफ द पॉलिसी मेकर्स, एंड आवर वर्क हैज़ बीन एक्चुअली टेकन क्वाइट सीरियसली. तो उसकी बेसिस के ऊपर वहाँ पे अब जो नई डेवलपमेंट हो रही है उसको कंसिडर किया जा रहा है. सो इवन इन अ शॉर्टर टाइम स्पैन मे बी इस किस्म की एप्लीकेशंस की यूजफुलनेस और यूटिलाइजेशन काफ़ी ज़्यादा.
Very well said. And also in terms of जो currently हम मशरूम ग्रोथ देख रहे हैं टूरिज्म इंडस्ट्री में, जैसे अगर मरी हो गया, नारायण का खान हो गया, दैट इज़ ऑल डन विदाउट प्लानिंग. एंड देन उसमें ऑब्वियसली वो रिस्क भी हायर होते हैं, इम्पैक्ट भी ज़्यादा होता है. सवात में जो हुआ उसका होटल्स वहाँ पे तो हर साल तो फ्लड से ख़राब होते ही हैं. अगर आपके मुताबिक क्लाइमेट रेजिलिएंट डेस्टिनेशन कैसी दिखती है, एंड हाउ इज सस्टेनेबल टूरिज्म इन योर ओपिनियन?
So let me take your second question first. Okay, what is sustainable tourism? Because and the principles and the standards are very well defined. A number of countries around the world actually have quite successfully done that. I think the very first thing is कि realization कि अगर वो स्वाद के दरिया हैं या उसके ग्रीन प्लेन्स हैं या स्कर्दू के पहाड़ हैं या सिंध के जो हमारा डेजर्ट एरिया है, the one realization is that this is our natural capital, and we have to start treating them like a natural capital as well, because they do have an economic value, they do have a social value. So the one thing is कि इनकी preservation और conservation जो है वो बहुत ज़रूरी है, और हर जो इलाका है उसकी अपनी जो सस्टेनेबिलिटी के जो प्रिंसिपल्स हैं उनकी अपनी डिमांड है. पाकिस्तान की एक एडवांटेज, एक खूबसूरती ये है कि देयर इज़ सच अ वैरायटी एंड डाइवर्सिटी इन टर्म्स ऑफ इट्स लैंड्स, इन टर्म्स ऑफ द नेचुरल कैपिटल एंड द कल्चरल एस्पिरेशंस एंड द कल्चरल कैरेक्टरिस्टिक्स एज वेल. डिसएडवांटेज ये है कि one plan cannot work from top to bottom as well. We need a very different kind of sustainable tourism principles and the standard and the practices and approaches for Sindh as compared to Swat or to Skardu or Gilgit. But I think the underlying principle is the preservation, is the conservation, and the other thing is kind of open up the places to the general public. But then there's an education, awareness, training kind of a component which need to be very tightly built into it. The facilities on those places need to be designed in such a way that they do become kind of incentivized for people to use them. So some of the principles, some of the tools which have been very successfully used in other places, which are related to kind of behavioral sciences, I think that need to be integrated as well. So I think this is one thing. It's in the best interest कि गलियात की वेजिटेशन, उसके जो जंगलात हैं उनको प्रिजर्व किया जाए, कंजर्व किया जाए. आई थिंक दैट्स द ओनली वे. अदरवाइज जिस किस्म की वहाँ पे ग्रोथ होती रही है या हो रही है, तो 20-25-30 सालों में नो वन वुड लाइक टू गो ओवर देयर. मरी किसी दौर में बहुत खूबसूरत होता था. मेरी भी बचपन की यादें हैं, आई एम श्योर आपकी भी होंगी. लेकिन अब की ये हालत है कि कोई भी रीज़नेबल बंदा जो है वो ख़ास तौर पे कुछ स्पेशलाइज जो दिन होते हैं उनमें मरी में जाना नहीं पसंद करता. अ लॉट ऑफ डिस्ट्रक्शन हैज़ ऑलरेडी टेकन प्लेस एक्चुअली बिकॉज ऑफ ऑर्गेनिक और अनऑर्गेनाइज्ड काइंड ऑफ जो इंफ्रास्ट्रक्चर डेवलपमेंट हुई है, जो ग्रोथ हुई है, एंड देन द पॉपुलेशन पुश ऑफ कोर्स हैज़ ऑलवेज बीन देयर. अब so I think these are the few things which need to be very strictly and tightly built into the any future growth for the tourism industry. And Pakistan have a lot of potential for that. So और ये होने वाला है, ये रुकने वाला नहीं है, because लोगों को places चाहिए, they need to go out. Economically we are getting better as well, then people have a more disposable income. तो कहीं ना कहीं तो उन्होंने खर्च करनी है. And similarly we are marketing it at international level as well. So कुछ हमें international tourists भी यहाँ पे आएंगे. Now, how idealistic, sustainably preserved, sustained एक tourism का spot, how it should look like? I think to me it should look like where you don't really feel too much kind of out of home, or it doesn't really distract too much of your comfort level. You still actually feel you are not in your normal kind of workspace or a living space, but at the same time you have, or you feel that kind of immersive experience with the place. And then of course it's entirely up to the person as well. कुछ लोगों को natural beauty, scenic beauty पसंद होती है. The others are more kind of adventurous. They look at the mountains. Few people are. I'm more like a beach person. I like beaches, and I like the serenity and the pristine quietness of the beaches.
कौन सा बीच आपको बेस्ट लगे अभी तक दुनिया में?
There are many actually. Frankly, I've been blessed to visit go to many places. So I love. I lived in Mauritius for 5 years.
Of course.
So I lived there, and I took the opportunity of living. Actually, renting a house right on the beach, and so I like Mauritius beaches. खास तौर पे उसका जो South के beaches, South of Mauritian beaches. But I like Caribbean beaches as well. Saint Lucia is a small island in Caribbean. It has beautiful beaches, and the sunset in Saint Lucia is completely kind of a mind blowing.
Yeah.
I used to have a practice. मैं जब भी किसी नए मुल्क में जाता था, तो I used to take a picture of the sunset there.
Very nice.
And I collected many of them, but then I stopped that practice somewhere down the road.
Why?
I think वो फिर कुछ इस तरह से होता है, मीटिंग में गए हुए हैं, and then you don't get a chance, and then you're sitting in a kind of a boring kind of a windowless meeting room, and then you're too tired to go out, and yeah, so somehow a charm कहीं गुम हो गया.
But you still have those pictures with you?
I still have it, yeah. Yes, I do have them.
Do you think Karachi beach would be anytime soon similar to the Mauritius beaches?
There's a lot of work needed to be done there, you know. But I hear that Balochistan के कुछ beaches जो हैं,
Oh yeah.
yeah, I haven't got a chance to go there, but I've seen the pictures, and they are really beautiful.
Yeah.
I think we need to work on the both hands to preserve them, and then to clean up in Karachi as well.
अभी तक इंसान वहाँ पहुँचा नहीं है ना, इसलिए वो Safe है.
Exactly.
I think पाकिस्तान में कल्चर भी टूरिज्म का ग्रेजुअली अभी बढ़ा है, स्पेशली कोविड में लोगों को पता चला कि विद इन द कंट्री भी ट्रैवल किया जा सकता है. उस लिहाज से रिस्पॉन्सिबल टूरिज्म इज समथिंग विच इज़ वेरी इंपॉर्टेंट, एंड वी नीड टू ट्रेन द पीपल लोकली जो हैं, जो ट्रैवल करना चाह रहे हैं, कि हाउ दे इंश्योर दैट दे डोंट डिस्ट्रॉय द लोकल कम्युनिटीज़ एंड द लोकल प्लेसेस, बी रिस्पेक्टफुल एंड माइंडफुल ऑफ दोज प्लेसेस, और कि लाइक यू मेंशन एज वेल कि वन साइज डज नॉट फिट ऑल. जो बलूचिस्तान में या कराची में है वो सिमिलरली के में नहीं होएगा. So what do you think about responsible tourism, and how can we bring about behavioral change in our people and train them to not maybe litter and be respectful, basically?
Yeah, it's a long drawn battle actually. What we're talking, any behavior change it takes a lot of effort, and it takes a lot of work to be done as well. I think the one thing is very important. I think we should actually start actually teaching and educating our children. I think that's very important, because very soon they're going to become the travelers, and they're the one who actually are going to those places as well. I'm not saying that कि जो अभी वाली generation है उसको अपनी responsibility से हाथ धो लेने चाहिए. I think it's still we should be working on them. We should be actually educating them. जिस तरह की campaigning हमें बाकी चीज़ों के ऊपर बाज़ औक़ात नज़र आती है, and it's quite effective as well. And
You think so?
in बहुत सारी other चीज़ों में, I mean बाज़ औक़ात हम mostly political campaign देखते हैं, they're quite effective as well. इस तरह से हम बाकी चीज़ों में भी ऐसी campaign, I think we need to do that kind of a campaigning, and a very targeted campaigning on a responsibility and responsible tourism. And I think वो जो हम कह रहे हैं कि अपने माहौल को और अपनी कम्युनिटी को और अपने नेबर्स के साथ एक अच्छा बिहेवियर जो है उसको सस्टेन करना, वो हमें वैसे भी करना चाहिए. ना नेसेसरली कि हम स्वात में जाके करें या हम कहीं और जाके करें, हम अपनी कम्युनिटी में भी करते हैं, and then we carry that kind of a behavior with us as well. So a very strong campaigning is needed, and जिसको at different levels. I think our larger focus should be on children. And that can actually can be designed on two different levels. The one is बच्चों को ये दिखाना कि look, this is Pakistan as well. It's not only what you see in Lahore or Karachi or in kind of urban centers, but this is also Pakistan. And similarly उनको ये भी दिखाना कि maintaining and sustaining actually requires an effort, and an effort by everyone. you know. So I think and the children actually they are the best learners and they are the best practitioners as well. Before उससे पहले कि society ने कुछ और सिखा जाए, I think this is something which we need to that. वो influence लेंगे तो वो इन्फ्लुएंस अगर एक अच्छे तरीके से एक फोकस तरीके से हम अपने स्कूलों में हम अपने करिकुलम में या अपने एजुकेशन और जो दूसरे ऐसे लर्निंग के मोड्स हैं हम उनमें दे सकते हैं, ठीक है. चिल्ड्रन लर्न अ लॉट फ्रॉम कार्टून्स एंड दे एंजॉय एंड यू नो आपने देखा ही होगा और हम अभी तक कार्टून देखते हैं. आई मीन हाउ अट्रैक्टिव दे आर, हाउ एंगेजिंग दे आर. तो आई थिंक शॉर्ट कार्टूनिस्ट बेस्ड वीडियोस वो एक ऐसा काम काज जाता है वो जो बच्चे को सारी ज़िंदगी नहीं भूलता, बड़ों को भी नहीं भूलता बाज़ औक़ात. आई एम श्योर यू एंजॉय टॉम एंड जेरी इवन टुडे. आई मीन आई डू दैट एज वेल, ठीक है. तो आई थिंक दिस इज़ द काइंड ऑफ अ थिंग व्हिच वी नीड टू डिज़ाइन.
मीडिया इज़ वेरी इंपॉर्टेंट. जो आपके सबकॉन्शियसली मैसेजिंग जा रही थी, सब्लिमिनल मैसेजेस, दैट्स वेरी इंपॉर्टेंट इन डिफाइनिंग एंड शेपिंग अ कम्युनिटी एंड अ कंट्री. डिजिटलाइजेशन के हवाले से आपको क्या ख्याल है कि हाउ इम्पोर्टेंट इज़ दैट कि आप टूरिज़म इंडस्ट्री के लिए हाउ इम्पोर्टेंट इज़ दैट फॉर पाकिस्तान, जैसे अवेयरनेस बिल्डिंग के लिए, अर्ली वार्निंग साइंस के लिए, सही फोरकास्टिंग के लिए एज वेल, कि अगर इस एरिया में अभी ना ट्रैवल करें एंड फॉलोइंग दैट एज वेल. How do you think digitalization can play a role in ensuring that and protecting the communities as well?
To me, that's the only solution. You know, we're talking about technology, digitalization. I think no one can stop it, and all we can do is actually we can actually build on that. In our own area as well. You know, disaster reduction, disaster risk management, climate adaptation, climate action के हवाले से we have actually come to that. I personally have come to that stage and understanding the only solution is going to be now the technological solution. And I'm not undermining everything else which is needed, but the technology is going to be kind of providing the kind of solutions. Either it is related to kind of capturing the greenhouse gas emissions, storing them somewhere else, or it's reducing the emissions or cutting the emissions from the transport sector, or from the tourism industry in general as well. So I think there are technological solutions which are available, and digitalization is actually leading this whole wave. So that's the only solution. So far, we have not been able to kind of fully integrate and fully benefit from it, but it's never too late. And I think we basically take whatever the advancements which had happened, we just need to tailorize them, and we need to integrate into our existing systems. Technology में ये power हमेशा से रही है कि वो systems को evolve करवा देती है और उनको leapfrog करवाती है. If we see from a technological advancements and the developments, we have seen that, and inefficiencies cut down हो जाती है. In many ways corruption जो है वो eliminate हो जाती है जहाँ transparency आती है, इन सारी चीज़ों से. And similarly with the tourism industry as well, I think for tourism there are few fundamentals, where somebody is traveling need to know where I'm traveling, whether I have all the information accessible to me that I can reach to that place safely, and the place is actually offering what I'm supposed to kind of experience there. The credibility sara kuch. So I think this might be the only solution, and we happen to be actually passing through a very interesting phase of the technological development as well. With the AI, with all its kind of pitfalls, with all its dangers which are inherently there, lekin there's a huge power to it as well. And I think we have to look at the positive side of things and try to utilize it.
अगर एक प्लेटफॉर्म हो where all the information regarding travel and tourism industry is available, so we can attract lots of foreign travelers as well and increase that that percentage as well. Insurance की penetration पाकिस्तान में बहुत कम है, especially when we talk about the travel insurance, जो कि हम बाकी countries में देखते हैं, Schengen areas में it's very common, US में it's very common. Why are people not investing in that over here? Whether it's for big disaster insurances or it's for minor inconvenience insurance that आपको कोई luggage गुम गया है या कोई आपकी delay हो गई है bus या flight. What do you think about that, and how can we bring about that change in our people?
People try to convince me that it's a very cultural thing, and it's a religiously driven, and which I tend to disagree. I don't think that's the only reason. I think there are deeper structural challenges जिसकी वजह से this whole sector haven't really evolved up to the level and the scale where it should have been. Insurance is a financial instrument. It's related to the financial industry, and it operates within the bigger capital markets and the financial markets of the country as well. तो एक तो जो चीज़ है वो ये है कि financial industry पाकिस्तान की काफ़ी ज़्यादा under development. It's just about to evolve. It's just about to kind of stand on its feet, and but insurance particularly is far too much underdeveloped in Pakistan. I think the reason which I personally see is rather is we're talking about this kind of a large national scale or even sector specific kind of a disaster related insurance instruments, or we're talking about more at the individual level. I think the insurance industry hasn't really been able to come up with the right kind of the products and the services. उसके पीछे भी एक जो structural or underlying reason, insurance actually builds on the risk assessment. We're going back to the previous discussion. The risk assessment is a very mathematical, it's a very scientific, it's a very quantifiable kind of a science. The capacity wasn't there. The tools were not there previously, and they were largely actually depending with whatever information or the data which was regionally available or internationally available, जो कि यहाँ की services को products को automatically or with the stretch actually unattractive कर देता था, ठीक है. Cultural issues are there as well. I'm not really completely undermining them or declining them. Personal लोग उस तरह से उस तरह से उसको internalize नहीं करते कि I mean how much I can secure myself, insure myself. लेकिन दूसरी वजह ये भी है कि मार्केट में ऐसी प्रोडक्ट्स और सर्विसेज भी easily available नहीं थी, और उसकी वजह ये थी कि इंश्योरेंस इंडस्ट्री ने अपने आप को बड़ा महदूद किया हुआ था कुछ 2-4 सेक्टर्स में, and they were good enough, they were making money, they were kind of most of the insurance companies were running into the profitability, and they never actually saw the kind of appetite to go into more risky areas. Okay? Disaster risk insurance में तो बहुत बड़ा ये था कि जिस स्केल और जिस मैग्नीट्यूड के डिज़ास्टर्स पाकिस्तान में आते हैं, तो कोई किसी भी इंश्योरेंस इंडस्ट्री एज अ होल डिड नॉट हैव that risk absorption capacity for that kind of a scale. लेकिन एक counter argument वो ये भी है कि you have to actually start developing the smaller scale, the more kind of a manageable products, and you grow your capacity, and then you start taking up the larger instruments, the larger risk taking assignments or the services as well. So I think it's a complex kind of situation right now, and what we in NDRMF, what we are actually trying to do is we have actually crossed the first bridge in terms of we have provided them the tool which actually allow them to undertake the realistic risk assessment and then base their risk premiums in a scientific manner through the NetCat. The NetCat of course can be utilized for the tourism industry, for the travel industry, for a number of other industries as well. Purely for that, it's a risk assessment tool. We just need to tweak, and we need to have a few more data elements and data parameters, and then model it out, which can be done quite easily as well. We are right now actually focused on the bigger question, on the bigger issue, and which is related to disaster-related insurance. But we are very actively look into the other areas as well. So एक तो ये चीज़ है, दूसरा अब tool available है, they are very favorable looking into that, and suddenly there's an excitement in the insurance industry कि नहीं अब हमारे पास है और हम इसको utilize कर सकते हैं. Now the second step is कि how to integrate this into the business, into their business model as well, and we are also working on that as well. We might actually take the insurance industry, seeing the potential, and we come up with a few models specifically, exclusively for the insurance for the tourism industry, for the risk assessment. We do not want to become an insurance company. This is their forte, and we want to leave it, but we want to just to be a stepping stone for them.
Yeah, very interestingly as well, I was having a podcast with somebody from the insurance industry as well, and one factor that he brought out was कि we have a colonial hangover basically. कि पहले ज़माने में या before the partition, people सिर्फ जो गोरा होता था उसके लिए इंश्योरेंस होती थी, उनके लिए their life was worth being insured basically, and their assets were worth that. So somehow that has translated to our subconscious levels as well, and even now we are following that, और हम नहीं use कर रहे. But at the same time एक additional cost भी तो है जो कि हमारी शायद capacity इतनी नहीं है to cater to that. Do you agree with that reason?
Yeah, I agree to both of them, the colonial hangover as well, and I think we subconsciously we are carrying many of those practices, and which we should not be.
The fact that this is partially in English is also one of them.
Yeah, and English also is one of them. I think it's true. The costing component, that's very much true actually, because and then it's a matter of a thinking as well. Kind of associating the cost with the return actually, and with seeing the return. With the evolution of the industry, उसमें दो चीज़ें हमेशा से होती हैं. एक ये है कि expansion of the industry, expansion of the services, cost नीचे जानी शुरू हो जाती है. I think this combination of the factors and the thinking haven't actually allowed us to explore that or to benefit of us from that angle as well. No, जो दूसरा उसका है कि जब competitiveness आ जाती है इंडस्ट्री में एज अ होल, तो नई प्रोडक्ट्स जो होती हैं वो दे लुक फॉर द एलिमेंट्स, दे लुक फॉर द न्यू फीचर्स, जिससे कास्ट भी कम हो जाए, उनका रिस्क भी उस हद तक इम्पैक्ट ना हो. लेट मी गिव यू एन एग्जांपल. यूरोपियन कंट्री में ये चीज़, कार इंश्योरेंस इज I mean inevitable. No one can actually bring the car on the road without having a car insurance. Insurance industry is a very big, it's a broad market. Insurance industry come to the new products and services now. Not everyone is actually uniform in his behavior, in his drivings. कुछ लोग होते हैं वो बहुत ज़्यादा ड्राइविंग कर रहे होते हैं, so they are more exposed to the risk. The more you are on the road, the more exposed you are to the risk. कुछ जो होते हैं, Sunday drivers होते हैं, they only bring out their car, once a week or twice a week kind of a thing. Okay? And previously ये होता था कि you get an insurance, based on number of parameters, कौन सी गाड़ी है आपकी, what is your age, what is your driving behavior through your license, and that's it. And now they are actually saying that, how much exposure you have to the risk. If you fall into the low risk exposure area, your insurance cost is pretty significantly low as compared to somebody who's always on the road. तो जब मार्केट ग्रो करती है तो इस तरह के फीचर्स, इस तरह की एफिशिएंसीज ऑटोमेटिकली आती हैं. वी हैवंट बीन एबल टू क्रॉस दैट फंडामेंटल काइंड ऑफ जो थ्रेशहोल्ड है, हम उस तक नहीं अभी तक पहुंच सके. और जब ये होगा so the cost is not going to be really a big issue anymore.
Yeah. Basically economics.
Economics. I've seen in so many other industries, in so many. I mean, there are so many examples.
Talking about you, आपके 20-year career में, what is the one achievement that you feel has made the biggest difference, maybe in Pakistan or generally climate in industry in general?
So one was, I think, the evolution of the carbon markets.
Yeah.
So, when I started in the UN, I was hired back then. आजकल पेरिस एग्रीमेंट है, उस वक्त क्योटो प्रोटोकॉल होता था, और उस वक्त वो क्योटो प्रोटोकॉल का आर्टिकल 12 होता था, CDM क्लीन डेवलपमेंट मैकेनिज्म. सो आई वाज हायर्ड अगेंस्ट द आर्टिकल 12 कि जी कार्बन मार्केट्स है, CDM को ऑपरेशनलाइज करना है, कार्बन मार्केट्स डेवलप करनी है, एमिशन ट्रेडिंग होगी, कार्बन की एक प्राइस होगी, लोग ट्रेड करेंगे, ये करेंगे, वो करेंगे. एंड दैट्स व्हाई वी इकोनॉमिस्ट वर एक्चुअली गिवन द ड्राइविंग सीट इन दैट होल प्रोसेस. We thought that this is all theory, it's never going to happen. And then in about 2003, 2004, we actually and we worked diligently, we worked extremely hard, we were excited, and we actually started seeing after about a few months that it can actually really make a difference, and we started believing on the climate change as well. That was a fundamental thing as well. And then I think 2003 we see actually this 3, 4, 5, 6 actually we actually started seeing it, and then suddenly it blew up. And then the carbon emissions trading, the carbon trading, the carbon market, carbon as a currency, carbon as a financial instrument, it became a reality. So I still see that the contributions I made at that point in time, and then seeing the evolution and the growth of the carbon markets around the world, I think that I believe is remain one of the single most kind of the biggest contribution I might have been actually able to make at the international level. अब उसके आगे और उसके अगेंस्ट बाकी सारे भी जो काम थे वो थोड़े से ना छोटे लगने शुरू हो जाते हैं, क्योंकि that was such a the magnitude is such a big. And then I actually came to Mauritius and to start up a fund for the Commonwealth, and again something kind of from scratch, setting up an office for the Commonwealth in Mauritius, and then operationalizing this whole fund, Climate Finance Access Hub, and then spreading it in about 3 years' time in 15 countries, and then having a large portfolio of the projects, a large kind of a funding line from international partners. So that gave me a little bit of a satisfaction as well. But in terms of the innovativeness, in terms of newness, something unique, I think the carbon market remains pretty high on my own sense of achievements.
Yeah. What keeps you hopeful now? अब जो आजकल आप disasters देख रहे हैं, currently, recently इतने कुछ हुआ, 22 में इतने major हुए. What keeps you hopeful कि climate resilience पाकिस्तान की कैसे बढ़ेगी, especially in tourist heavy places?
It's very hard to be hopeful. I'll be very honest. What is happening right now in the last few years, जैसे intensity or frequency increase हुई है. So it's not easy. Somebody who have actually invested his entire professional life in this area, I think sometimes you get a feeling that okay, all the big tipping points have been crossed. जो भी साइंस बेस्ड टिपिंग पॉइंट्स है कि कंसंट्रेशन लेवल ग्रीन हाउस गैसेस का इधर नहीं होना चाहिए, ग्लोबल एवरेज टेम्परेचर इंक्रीज इतना नहीं होना चाहिए, adaptation के measures अभी तक मीट हो जाने चाहिए थे, फाइनेंसिंग should have been actually aligned and readily accessible for the countries like Pakistan. So in that context तो ये pretty एक doom and gloom वाली सूरत हाल है. And what we are seeing right now actually in Pakistan, तो उससे तो ज़ाहिर है कि एक और भी डिसअपॉइंटमेंट का लेवल थोड़ा सा हाई चला जाता है. But nevertheless, I think being optimistic persons, I think we have to keep on actually trying, keep on pushing it. So in terms of I think in Pakistan, there's a lot of work to be done. I think we need to set our priorities right. Our survival actually rests on two big words or two big concepts. One is adaptation. we cannot really make a difference. Even if we should reduce emissions, we should actually cut our carbon footprint, and we do, wherever is possible. And there's a lot of potential in Pakistan, in industry, in tourism, in energy generation and distribution, and similarly in number of agriculture, for example, number of other areas. We must realize that we just must make this happen. Adaptation is extremely important. I think we started looking and kind of assisting and facilitating our communities, our agriculture practice, our health facilities, and everything else actually started adapting towards that direction. And that's a big task. That's a massive task actually. And we need to do a lot of R&D, a lot of research work, and everything must be actually risk informed, must be looked from a risk angle and a risk dimension. So that's one thing. The other concept is which is resilience, which is of course is connected to with the adaptation, but that is resilience, and that resilience is a lot more kind of overarching kind of a concept, and the science which again need to be incorporated into the every bit of the planning which is being undertaken in the country right now, whether it's economic planning or social development, or it's the education sector, health sector, infrastructure development, the housing sector which we are developing, or the road network which we are developing. I think that need to be looked from that angle and that dimension. Once we start looking from that dimension, the kind of developments which we are right now, which you are seeing, यहाँ पे development का जो मतलब लिया जाता है, वो लिया जाता है which is in direct conflict with nature. कि आपने ब्रिक एंड मोटर इस तरह के काम करने हैं, दरियाओं में के आगे बंद बांधने हैं, आपने वॉल्स बनानी हैं, आपने ये सारा कुछ किया. So this is, I think this whole concept need to be changed. And once you start actually doing that, it gives you a very different perspective, and it's doable. I'm not saying that it's not. The nature, of course, recovers itself as well. And it's not only Pakistan, but it's globally. We're not giving that kind of a breathing space to the nature to recover itself. It happens and it takes time, and we're not giving that kind of a time. I think we should start actually giving more time for its own natural recourse. But our planning need a very different dimension and perspective.
What are you hoping that Pakistan achieves in the upcoming COP?
The COPs it's very difficult to achieve for any country in a kind of an individual or singular manner to achieve anything in the COP. COPs are deliberative forums. They are policy making forums. And sometimes Pakistan में थोड़ा सा उसका मतलब different लिया जाता है, लेकिन COP is basically international policy making. Anything and everything which is achieved in the COPs, it is only achieved through deliberation, through partnerships, through consultations. And Pakistan has been actually doing quite a remarkable job on few fronts, bringing and highlighting the case for Pakistan to the international community, and sometimes actually being successful in taming some of the decisions, some of the policy actions in favor of Pakistan and or Pakistan-like countries as well. And I think so. In that particular context, our participants of the COP haven't done a bad job at all. But I think that kind of a partnership and the consultations need to be a lot more further strengthened. A lot of things that happen during the COPs. There's a behind closed doors, there's a kind of a wheeling and dealings and negotiations and the policy making, and a lot of things which are happening. And then out in the public arena, there's a lot of protests happening, and there's a lot of a kind of public debates which are going on. Everything is, of course, is necessary, is informing in a direct, indirect manner into this whole kind of a global debate which is happening. Next COP is particularly important because Brazil, as the presidency of the COP, actually they want to focus the discussions on the implementation, and which has not been the focus of the COPs. I have been associated with the COPs since 2000 or 1999. and there was a very strong understanding within the UNFCCC people and the corridors that our role is only to make the policy, and then the implementation has to happen somewhere else. The other UN organization, the countries, and this and that. Now this feeling and this understanding is shifting right now.
Ownership different हो जाती है.
Ownership different हो जाती है, exactly. So Brazil actually want to bring this back into the agenda, and that actually is much more in favor of the countries like Pakistan. Mm-hmm. So I think we should bring our action plans. Yeah. And we actually, on a constant basis, we have to kind of see that how our action plans are aligned with the policy making, which is being designed and being prepared at the COP level. At the same time, it's a wonderful opportunity. A large number of a very targeted audience is caged under one roof over a period of two weeks. So a lot can be achieved over there as well. So I think we should keep our options open and try to maximize our benefits over there.
Thank you so much, Bilal Saab, for joining us here today. It's really interesting talking to you. I would rather continue this podcast, but I'm sure कि आपने भी आगे करना है. And we got to learn a lot, and I'm sure our audience did as well. Thank you so much for watching this episode. Subscribe to our channel, and we'll be back with another episode.